it's no exaggeration when they say that, Black people have to work twice as hard to get half as far. I didn't want to believe that growing up. I'm like, there's no way, like, we have a Black president, you hear all these things. And then you realize, like, oh, that is the case, because God forbid you have a bad day at work. It's like you feel like as a person of color, you are defined by that bad day. You are then generalized, and it's almost like an aha moment for some people to be like, I knew it, like I knew that person was angry. It's almost like dehumanizing where you can't express certain emotions or be disappointed or frustrated. You just have to kind of just pull yourself up by the bootstraps and just keep going.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the HR Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Equitable. I am Joseph Ifiegbu, the CEO and co-founder of Equitable. This HR leadership series focuses on what companies are doing to understand employee satisfaction, productivity, diversity, and how leaders are approaching the moments of truth. Join us.
Bianca, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, sweet. So, as I mentioned, I am in New York. I'm born and raised in New York, specifically in the Bronx. But I currently live in Brooklyn. Most of my working career has been in this city. And I've been working at a healthcare company for about 5 years and 9 months, to be exact. I work as a lab specialist. So pretty much just working in the lab, sticking people with needles, trying to make it not so scary encounter by combating it with, human-centered, just compassionate healthcare. And so I enjoy what I do. And, most recently this year, I started a resource group at my company. I started a resource group because something told me, as much as I'm feeling a certain way, I know there's a lot of other people who are. And so I just wanted to create a group that is action-based and to help, provide resources to these employees at work. So that's just been what I've been working on lately. And it's rewarding so far just to kind of network and connect people across different districts and different states. And just seeing how, we can make people feel seen at work and appreciated, and making sure that they have the tools and the resources to not only maintain, a good work-life balance, but actually succeed and grow. So it's an uphill battle, but it's definitely worth fighting.
Yeah. What for you is that importance of psychological safety at work for people of color? Because essentially that's kind of the space that you knowingly or unknowingly, in a sense, created, right? For people like you to come and share. So what for you is that important? Not just even for your work, but for just people of color in general. How do you see that?
I think it's most important to me because it's not something that we have quite established yet, not only in the workplace, but just living your daily life as a person of color and specifically Black person. And just to clarify, by the way, I am biracial. So I don't speak from understanding the 100% like experience, that I grew up in Black culture and I understand it and, have friends. But I just wanted to put that out there in case anybody's wondering, like, oh, you look kind of like Puerto Rican, because I am Puerto Rican also. But no, but just going back to my point, we don't really have many safe spaces where we can meet one another, even travel to different countries without wondering if you're going to feel safe there or be welcomed. It's just so many different aspects in life where we are just not afforded the privilege of being able to just exhale and exist. When it comes to corporate culture, it can be very cutthroat. And there's a lot of conforming that comes into play when you are, I don't want to say outnumbered, but when it comes to tokenism, when you are just, let's say, for example, the only one of your kind, culture goes, there's a lot of just like adapting to the norm that is surrounding you. And I think our people for many years have found the art of doing that, but not realizing the psychological effects of like shrinking yourself and not feeling like you are living and walking and speaking your truth and being who you are 100%, and also having people beside you that can relate to that. Like one thing I'm really passionate about, for example, is like code switching. So like a lot of that in corporate culture where people feel like, okay, when certain people are around, I have to like lighten up my voice and like, change and appear and, professional, or I like straighten my hair, when I'm at work, that and stuff. Yeah, it's just aspects. So I just want to show people, that there is a place in this world where you can be your authentic self, and still be respected as a professional working human being.
How strong do you think the need is for community building? How strong do you think the need is for allyship and say, okay, yes, there's a bunch of people that maybe look the same and speak the same language, but there is a need for, how strong do you think it is in companies and organizations?
It's extremely strong, especially when a lot of companies nowadays, and emphasis on the nowadays, advertise and try and recruit and promote inclusivity in the workplace, and they say we abide by the law and we are an equal employer, and there's a lot of things that they promote, but then when you get inside on the other side and you realize that some people are extremely out of touch, for lack of a better word, it's just harmful. And even though it's not outright physical harm that you see, we all know when it comes to like mental health, for example, a lot of people suffer in silence. It just becomes the norm where, again, when it comes to conforming, people just feel like when they come to work, they're wearing a mask, feel like they have to leave who they really are authentically at the door. You have to come and be this person. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. And I think what makes the stakes high is that when you think about the advancement of people, like evolutionary over years, if you're not tapping into your fullest potential because you are in whatever confines, and those confines are usually, conformity at work, then you really have no idea which limits you're able to reach. And that affects society in a whole. When you have a bunch of people who are just boxed in and they don't see beyond the ceiling, while some other people in their culture are being raised from a very young age to know their worth, to know that you are the talent, you don't need this place needs you. When you have that mindset, I would imagine your life's experiences are different versus when you're raised in a culture that teaches you to just survive pretty much. And when I had that experience of being denied for a job and was confiding in my mom about it, crying the whole nine, her mindset and her viewpoint was along the lines of just, don't leave that job, just stay and keep trying, and don't speak up too much because you don't want to, ruffle any feathers. And it was just very much fear-based and just on the lines of, again, just surviving. And I understand and I forgive her for the way that, she thinks and how she was raised, because those were the circumstances. But I think to my mom sometimes, I'm like, this is 2021, and I have rights and I have principles of my own. And if you don't feel valued at a place, or feel like the place where you're dedicating your time and passion and energy are reciprocating that same respect and loyalty, then it's no use in deteriorating your mind and thinking that you need this place. They think like this place or this boss or this role determines me and my worth and my capabilities, when we all know that's not the case. It's no exaggeration when they say that Black people have to work twice as hard to get half as far. I didn't want to believe that growing up. I'm like, there's no way, like, we have a Black president, you hear all these things. And then you realize, like, oh, that is the case, because God forbid you have a bad day at work. It's like, you feel like as a person of color, you are defined by that bad day. You are then generalized, and it's almost like an aha moment for some people to be like, I knew it, like, I knew that person was angry. It's almost like dehumanizing, where you can express certain emotions or be disappointed or frustrated. You just have to kind of just pull yourself up by the bootstraps and just keep going. And then that's health starts to waver, because you're fighting against this invisible wall that you don't even is there.
Yeah, it's almost like you're not seen, you're like seen as a generalization and not the individual, right? It's like this.
When you're a Black person or a person of color, you don't have the privilege of being seen as an individual. You are a representative of your race, whether you want to be or not. Whereas the counterparts, whenever you hear something egregious about them, like in the news, for example, it's always that individual person. They were troubled, this specific thing happened to this specific person. They're not like prejudged based on their race.
Yeah. If you had limited resources, what are some of the things that you would do within your organization or your community even to change or to improve the experiences of people of color in terms of where they work and how they experiences? What would you do if you had limited resources?
I think it would be very beneficial if we can bring, a bunch of Black working professionals together, not for just partying or, keeping it light, but just to really learn from one another, relate, network, make connections, share information, and just having the ability, again, to be around people that you can, be your authentic self with, relate to, feel comfortable talking and not feeling like you are being seen through some biased lens, but you're being seen for exactly the person that you are. I've been in those situations, and it just makes a huge difference. And so bringing people together as far as community building and networking is one thing that I think would be great, as far as just making people feel motivated to come to work and feel like they actually have people that they can rely on and trust wholeheartedly. And then what else as far as resources? Having actual, programs and workshops and mentorships that are actually going to do what they say, what they advertise as. So I think it could work if it's actually, intended to do so. So you train a bunch of people, you instill a lot of the fundamentals of what it means to be a working professional and how to reach certain goals. And then you provide these said opportunities for them to implement what they learn.
This is incredible. Thank you so much for just, for speaking with us. And yeah, I really appreciate your time, your insights, your story. I enjoyed this conversation. I learned so much, and really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, I am always available to talk about these things. I will always make time. I'm glad it's being talked about nowadays. I think now is our time to really capitalize on making sure that people are, seen and appreciated, because that promotes greatness. So good luck in, all that you're doing, and hopefully these companies receive you and what you're offering and, do the right thing. That's all we can really hope for.
Absolutely.